Hey everybody, what's going on? It's James here with Crypto Common Sense, aka Three Peaks Trading, and I've got a few minutes to spare today, so I thought I'd sit down and shoot a video going over current state of the market. Also, just maybe a little bit of a tangent, not a big tangent, but one thing I would say about these markets and just the world and at large, really take things you see online, things that people say with a grain of salt. I've joined a lot of groups over the last year and a half that are related to concrete work and dirt work and things like that because I started an excavation company in 2022. I've never been around that business as far as before that. I'd never operated a piece of equipment or even been on a piece of equipment. So even though I'm not the boots on the ground guy, I'm just essentially the guy that put up the money. I wanted to learn about it. So I joined all these groups, and guys, you wouldn't believe what people argue about. Like a few minutes ago, I saw people arguing on what is and is not a barn-dominium, right? People are saying if it's got a basement, it's not a barn-dominium. And I just think to myself, who cares? Who cares what you call it? If it serves the purpose that you need it to serve. But it made me think, like about markets and trading and things like that. Like, so many people have different styles, and they're so quick to point at somebody else and say, your style is wrong, my style is right. And at the end of the day, the only thing that really matters is, are you making money? Are you making a profit? If you're making a profit, a good profit, a consistent profit, and you've been able to prove time and time again, over the course of multiple cycles that your system works, awesome. It doesn't matter what anybody else says about your system. So like when I post charts up, which I rarely do anymore, like there's always people that disagree, and I welcome different opinions. But I'll say the same thing today that I've been saying for 7 years. If you have a different opinion, just back it up with something, either some kind of technical analysis that shows a different viewpoint, or even if you have some fundamental reasons for having a different opinion. My problem online, and one of the reasons that I kind of got burnt out on all this stuff, was because so many people were so negative anytime they didn't like what I posted, but they couldn't back it up with anything. It was just, they were angry. Essentially, they were betting, and their hopes and dreams were on Bitcoin. And for a long time, I was that bear who was essentially pissing in their Wheaties, So the good news is, for those of you that are very bullish on Bitcoin, I'm not bearish on Bitcoin at this point. I haven't been in quite a while. I'm actually, dare I say, bullish on Bitcoin. When I look at this chart, it's the same chart I essentially posted up in 2021. I've just been updating it along the way. It is the chart of Bitcoin versus the QQQ. When I first posted it, of course, it was back in this area, and again, all kinds of people told me how dumb I was for, saying we were in complacency. Oh, you can't do that. You can't chart that way. You can't blah, 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 blah. But 2 years later, or nearly 2 years later, and this chart was all it took to have some really, really good fortune with Bitcoin, We got this anger phase back here, and when this was happening, I had essentially said this may be anger, or I may be wrong. It may actually be depression. I thought it was anger. I leaned that way. I thought maybe we had a depression move where we go a little bit lower first, but I was wrong. Essentially, this was probably anger back here, and this ended up being depression. But when we started to move up, of course, I updated this and said this looked like disbelief. And then after disbelief, which is right here, you get your pullback. These are just general ideas. They're not exact. So don't think that every market follows this exact pattern every time. But, this dip, I felt like we were due a dip. This is actually when Bitcoin was retesting its all-time high versus the US dollar. So it had the dip, which I, tend to believe was the disbelief dump right here, basically a shakeout. And it just really retested this high from the summer of 2023. And then we started to move up, and of course, I had let my Discord know, several weeks back that I felt like we were entering the hope phase. And as Bitcoin, chops around and scares a lot of people right now, I'm not saying you should or should not be scared, but as it chops around sideways, the one thing that I would say, be aware that if this is indeed following this market cycle chart, And if we are indeed in the hope phase, if you really look at the hope phase, if you zoom in here and take a look at this, you'll notice it's a pretty choppy time in the market. You basically get some consolidation through there. And then if it's the hope phase, and nobody knows if it is, then you get the explosive breakout that runs into the optimism, belief, thrill, and ultimately euphoria. Okay? So if we look at this from a technical analysis point of view and we throw some trend extensions on here, it gets really interesting. Let's say, for example, that this is like a flag, basically, and this is the pullback. It's potentially pointing to a target up around this area here, about 213 versus the QQQ, which essentially means that it takes roughly 213 shares or 214 shares of the QQQ to buy one Bitcoin. That's what that means, okay? I would caution people, of course, and just remind them that this is the QQQ that we're talking about, Bitcoin versus QQQ, which means that this doesn't guarantee in any way, shape, or form that Bitcoin is going to move up versus the US dollar, even if it does move up versus QQQ. There is always that edge case scenario where the QQQ actually crashes and Bitcoin crashes less, which would essentially make it go up on this chart, okay? So, you know, it's always important to understand that, because there is no such thing as a guarantee. About the only thing that a person could say is guaranteed is that eventually markets as a whole, not meaning Bitcoin specifically, just markets as a whole, tend to go up, right? We're talking about the entire stock market, for example, tends to go up over time, even after major events like the Great Depression, the Great Recession, you know, the COVID crash, all that. Eventually, those markets tend to go up. But sometimes, like in the case of the QQQ, it took 16 years to break even if you bought the top of 2000. So, you know, it's just something to keep in mind. But yeah, I don't, guys, I'm not on social media a whole lot anymore. I obviously quit Twitter. I need to delete Twitter. I mean, I need to go over there and delete it. And the reason is because I believe in integrity. And I said along the lines back when I was super bearish, I said that if Bitcoin ever took out its all-time high, I would delete my account. And obviously it took out the all-time high in the last few weeks. I just haven't been over there. So I need to probably go over there and delete that. Like I said, I would. I'm not on it anyway. I think it's been about a year since I really posted anything on a regular basis over there. Obviously, I'm not doing very many videos anymore. I'm on Facebook a little bit, but, you know, not that much really. Just kind of enjoying life, you know, like I wish that I had taken a break a lot sooner and gotten away from all the negativity, because it's nice. It's really nice. But I also wanted to do this video and just kind of give people my 2 cents. I know there's some of you that have been really faithful followers, and yeah, you've always been very positive and encouraging, and I appreciate that a lot. So I want to do this video for you guys and let you know kind of where I stand at. Other than that, please remember, I am just some guy sitting in a spare bedroom, which means that nothing in this video is financial advice. You should always go out and do your own due diligence and seek out professional financial advice from a licensed financial advisor before making any type of investment in cryptocurrency, the stock market, precious metals, Forex, or any other tradable asset.